Chris Matthews really exposed the vapidness of anti-Bernie politics on MSNBC. So here he is saying that a strong anti-corruption message is basically un-American and it's wrong.
He's a charlatan, but he plays on these cultural issues, make America great again. They're honest feelings, but he exploits them and distorts them in his purposes. I think affection and patriotic feeling about the country and feeling about life and choice and traditional values, if you will, the Democrats are very cold about those things. And I think they really miss a chance to win by simply identifying with the feelings of the country better than they do. And that's the only thought I have tonight. And I caught it again tonight with Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful that our system of politics is corrupt. That's too strong. I'm sorry, it has corrupt aspects. But to say our democracy is corrupt is a bad starting point with a lot of people's hearts about this country. That's what I think.
Yeah, but you just made that up. Other people don't think that. You think that, man. Why can't you just say that? Like, if you just say that, I wouldn't even have to do this segment. I would just say, okay, that's his opinion. And he's saying it's his opinion. But you're not saying it like that. You're like, oh, be careful, Bernie. If you say the system is corrupt, man, you're going to turn a lot of people off. There's no reason to believe that that's the case, and there's every reason to believe the opposite is true. There's every reason to believe it's going to help Bernie. Why? Just look at the numbers, man. When you look at the approval rating of Congress, it oscillates between like 12% and 30%. It's always underwater, always. Like, if you got a Congress with a 20% approval rating, like, yeah, people think the system is fundamentally broken, especially since we can have an election and then right after the election, you poll people and they still hate Congress. So it's like, how can that possibly be? You guys all just picked these leaders to represent you, and now you say you hate them? Yeah, because they feel like we're only picking a lesser of two evils type situation forever. Now, how did it get to that point that we always feel like we're picking, from the lesser of two evils? Well, because we are. Because you have Republicans who are totally bought and owned by Wall Street and the corporations and the military-industrial complex and every special interest group you can name. And you have the Democrats who are bought by, unions and lawyers, but also Wall Street and also the military-industrial complex. So it's a matter of which special interests are we going to get to rip us off this election season? Let's pick. And it's unbelievable. Also, by the way, when you look at polls on money in politics, it's minimum 80%. It's 80% plus. Some polls are way over 80% of people who want to get money out of politics. So yes, when you look at a system like we have, where it's billions of dollars to run a presidential race, I mean, what, you think that these people don't owe their donors? Of course they do. That's corruption, Chris. The whole system is run on corruption. There are some more clear examples, and there are some more, systemic, soft examples, but the systemic, soft examples are arguably worse because it's just par for the course. Everybody just doesn't bat an eyelash and thinks it is what it is. The predatory payday loan industry donated for Trump's inauguration, and then Trump immediately scrapped the lawsuits that were against them and immediately scrapped the Obama-era regulations, which were going to crack down on the predatory payday loan industry. Now, does anybody actually think that Trump just has an ideological, position that people should be able to charge 300% interest or whatever insane number? No, he doesn't think about it when it comes to the actual ideology or philosophy or the policy itself. He's just like, I got paid by these people. I'm going to do them a favor. That's corruption. That is deep corruption. When you have, ExxonMobil giving money to all these Republican campaigns, and then they all turn around and continue to give a $4 billion subsidy every year to ExxonMobil, which is corporate welfare. Why do you think they do that, Chris? It's corruption. Now, I get it. You're in Washington, D.C., and you've been on TV forever, and you're comfy. And you don't look at this as what it is anymore. You just look at it as that's how business is done. That's how everything works. But that's the problem. You're not being objective. You're not being clear-headed about it. You've been beaten down by the process and by the system, and you just think, it is what it is. Which is why you're bad at your job. Like, there's a reason why Bernie's resonating, and the candidates saying everything's fine are not. It's because he's calling for reform, and he's pointing out how outrageous the system is and how all these things need to be changed. So there's no evidence and no reason to think that Chris Matthews is right on this point, apart from the fact that what he's saying is just absurd. Like, oh, careful! You're calling the system corrupt? How dare you? As if people are going to be like, I love America, therefore you're not allowed to say something like that about it. By that logic, you can't criticize anything in this country, and you have to say everything is all hunky-dory. Chris, it's not the 1980s anymore, and it's not the early 1990s. That whole, like, pretend to be so jovial and cheery, that's gone. Have you noticed that Donald Trump got elected? He got elected by saying, everything's terrible. Like, that's what he make America great again, meaning it's not great now. So why do you think you're not allowed to say something's bad, something's wrong, and we need to fix it? And he's right, we do need to fix that. Absolutely. That's arguably the most important issue because it's the issue that impacts all other issues. It's the fact that corporations and billionaires have rigged the system and run the system and own the system with their donations that we're in this mess that we're in today. On every issue, it goes back to some special interest group buying a politician to do their bidding. It always goes back to that. So, man, is he out of touch. Chris, it's time to wrap it up. It's time to wrap it up. Because you are not sharp. I mean, not that you ever were, but you're definitely less sharp now than you ever were in the past.